What's up, everybody? A free and really impactful way to support the 500 and Growing podcast is to follow on Spotify or Apple Podcast or your preferred podcast platform. Another totally free way is to subscribe on YouTube at the 500 and Growing channel. You get to see the episodes a week after the audio podcast has been released. Remember to like and review. Send this episode to somebody that you love that can grow by the powerful experiences you learn about. It helps us delivering a high quality, engaging stories of guests who are typically people who live outside of the 9-to-5 and choose to cultivate their passions while reaching for their highest potential. So if you're enjoying the journey of the stories we feature on the 500 and Growing podcast, hit that follow button, subscribe on YouTube, and help us grow. We appreciate every single one of you, and thank you. Enjoy your episode.
500 and growing.
Podcast.
Dedicated to the underdog, cause I see you. Working on your craft, getting strong, cause I see you. Ready to set it off and on, cause I see you. Correcting all that is wrong, cause I see you. Cause I see you. All right. So my name is Jesus Azteca 500 Sanchez. I am the host of the 500 and Growing podcast, and today we have Mayda Del Valle. She is a poetess.
Yes.
She is a laureate from Chicago. She is incredible. One of the things that, I met her through a mutual friend, Marcos Rios.
Marco.
Cool artist, man. You gotta definitely check out his artwork. It's I was talking to him not too long ago, and he was saying that it's futuristic, like Puerto Rican and ancient Puerto Rican, like Taino type styles. And so like one of his styles is like making faces kind of morph into other faces.
Yeah.
And it's a really dope art.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I met Mayda personally then, but before then I actually worked at the Chicago Teacher Center. And when I was working at the Chicago Teacher Center, we had a library like the one that I have in the back of like all these cool DVDs, and they were all these different like documentaries and stuff like that. And there was one called was Race is the Place. And so I'm a poet as well.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, I'm a poet as well. And so in my class, so what I used to do with the Chicago Teacher Center
That was like a PBS documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. That was when I was in New York. Yeah. Doing Broadway. Uh-huh.
Nice. And we'll talk
That's
about
a long time ago. Wow.
Yeah.
That's like 2001, 2002.
Yep.
Dang.
Yeah.
You
So
digging in the
it was
crates right now.
around the time that I was talking to Marco. No, because I was still like immature at that point. I think it was a little later when I found it, because what I did was as work was I was a professional artist that went into classrooms, and what I would do is like look at the teacher's curriculum and then make an art project based on their curriculum so that they would have exposure to fine art.
Yep.
And so I would use that DVD not only because it was like incredibly dope, like everybody on that DVD was like hard hitting, like talking about race. And it was like an easy way to get students to be able to talk about how race has affected their lives.
Yeah.
And so your part was like, I'm a shy Rican, Southside Puerto Rican. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I be a Rican, a Chi-Town, not a New York Rican, a Chi-Town, Southside Rican, simply
like you're talking about how you
my
were from the
God.
South Side. You weren't from the North Side. Like typically when you think of Puerto Rican in Chicago, you think of
Humble Park. Period. And that's it. And we don't look at the other stories beyond that neighborhood. And there's been like lots of places where Puerto Ricans have been in significant numbers in different communities around Chicago. One in particular that they were on the west side. My mom was telling me there was like an enclave on the west side. But on the south side, Puerto Rican presence can be traced to like the 1920s on 47th in Indiana. And
also on the east side.
Yeah,
Okay.
southeast side. And then when my mom and dad and like, almost everybody on my dad's side of the family came over here at one point, they all went over to like 63rd Street. So 63rd and Woodlawn, 63rd and Stony Island. So there was a big community of Puerto Ricans in Woodlawn and Inglewood up until like the 80s. And there were businesses, restaurants, civic clubs. One of the oldest organizations in Chicago, one of the first fraternal organizations for Puerto Ricans was called Los Caballeros de San Juan, who actually are responsible for the first iteration of the Puerto Rican Day Parade.
Nice.
Which eventually turned into the Puerto Rican Day Parade, was started by that organization. And one of their biggest chapters was on 63rd and Woodlawn.
Okay.
And they had a building. They owned the building, and it was a co-op housing building. So they had apartments, like rooms for like 50 men, because it was a lot of single men that were coming.
Sure.
So it was like 50 rooms, apartments for like 2 families. They had employment offices to help you get your license. They eventually opened up a credit union. There was a social hall with like all kinds of events. And stuff
that's
like
dope. That sounds like a settlement house, what people would call a settlement house.
And
right?
that was on 63rd and Woodlawn. So that is now an empty lot.
Oh, no.
There's an empty lot behind. Oh, there's a coffee shop right there. I can't remember the name of it. It's right on 63rd and Woodlawn.
Okay.
A couple blocks from the lake.
Okay.
And behind that, there's an empty lot. That's where that building used to be.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And so, I mean, talking about the past, like, how did you grow up? What did it smell like? What did it feel like?
Yeah.
Like, if you were to zone the viewer or the listener in to, like, what it was like to as little Mayda, looking at the world, like what was the place like, and where was it?
So I'm the youngest of 3. My mom and dad came late 50s, early 60s. So my mom came when she was 17, and my dad came. He was a little bit older. He actually came to Indiana and then moved to Chicago first. So I'm the youngest of 3. We're all 7 years apart. Which
did they meet? They met here.
They met
in
here in
Chicago.
Chicago,
Oh, in
at
Chicago.
San Clara.
Okay.
Yeah, Saint Clara Parish.
Okay.
Which is right around like kitty corner from where that hall used to be. That's now an empty lot.
Okay.
So that's where they got married, and then I have this map of them. Like for this project I'm working on, I created a map of all the places, and you could just see like they just kept moving, boom, 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 like in the same area.
Okay.
Dots.
Yeah.
So they were moving around a lot. Eventually, they bought a house on 54th and Wood, which is where I grew up, where I was born. And then when I was about 5, we moved to Chicagoland.
Okay.
So like around 63rd, Kedzie, California, in that area.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where I really grew up and spent most of my childhood and teenage days.
And what was it like?
Gosh, I don't know. Like in what way? What do you want to know?
All right. So when you were a little kid, so you said you were 5 in Woodlawn, or where?
In Inglewood.
In Inglewood, but then you went by Kedzie and 63rd. What was that?
63rd in California, Chicagoland.
Chicagoland. How was Chicagoland?
Chicagoland was really white in those days.
Yeah, well, talk to us about
white.
that. Like speaking, like you're growing up, right?
Yes.
And especially on the South Side. I talk about this on the podcast a lot. So I'm trying to like, it's a different zone because I'm from Little Village.
Yeah.
From
totally
the South
different.
Side.
Totally
to like
different.
Coming to the North Side.
Yep.
And like the vibe is completely different.
So I think part of what people, to kind of give context to this, Chicago's always been a very segregated city, right? Historically, like one of the worst, even to this day, like rampant redlining in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, right? And so, so we moved from Inglewood. We moved to 63rd in California. My mom was getting worried about my sister having to take the bus to school on her own. And so we moved, and it was a really white neighborhood, like all Polish, Lithuanian, some Irish. And we were one of the first brown families on the block, And my mom was very adamant that we go to Catholic school. So I grew up going to Catholic school, kindergarten through high school.
Okay. Where did you go to high school?
I went to Maria High School.
What? Yeah. I went to St. Rita.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah.
What year did you graduate?
99.
Oh, snap. I'm 96.
Oh, okay. So we kind of missed each other. But I was hanging out with all the older kids. So I had like the situation where like So my first girlfriend when I was a freshman was a junior.
Okay.
And so that got me to
Okay, that's like cougar status in high school, man. That's okay. You pulling the junior.
Yeah, it's a little thing. But that meant that all my friends were juniors.
Yeah.
And so they graduated, and I kind of got left. I was
behind.
like, wah, wah, wah.
No.
Yeah. So, but she was from Macaulay, and I know that you don't have like the Macaulay.
Yeah. Well, one of my nieces went to Macaulay, so that was we used to go to the mixers there, so they were like, you know, like Bad Boy Bill, Julian Jumpin' Perez, like all these old school DJs used to come, and they had this circuit of like events for the schools, and you had to have a high school ID in order to be able to get in. And so like there used to be mixers at Maria, Macaulay, Lourdes, St. Rita, St. Lawrence,
Queen of
Brother
Peace.
Rice, Queen of Peace, which is also closed down. Maria is now like a public school. So
is Maria public school?
Maria, yeah, they turned it into like a CPS.
What?
Yeah, it's called Maria Catalyst now. Yeah, for like 10 years, I think.
What?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Wow.
It's been a long time.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that was that was the context. And then, you know, I went to, I started going to the school when it was still really white, right? So it was primarily like Eastern European, like I said. And we still had nuns.
Okay, yeah.
So we still had nuns as teachers.
I had a Sister Imelda.
Oh my God, we had Sister Geraldine. Oof, may God have mercy on her soul.
No, that's how Sister Imelda was. So I went to Our Lady of Tepeyac High School, Our Lady of Tepeyac Grammar School, which was co-ed, and then the high school turned into all girls, right?
Okay.
And so at Our Lady of Tepeyac, they formed like this group called the Troublemaking Kids, which was kind of like a gang.
Okay.
That was formed in the high school. And, I mean, in the grammar school.
Okay.
Our Lady at Tepeyac. And so the kids that were running that group would like, they were traviesos. They would just like do like throw eggs at the school
pranks
and stuff like that, pranks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so
TP people's houses. That's
pretty much. And so we got called in, and I remember, man.
What was the name of it again?
The gang was called the Troublemaking Kids.
The Troublemaking Kids.
And so it was just like, man, I remember we were all sitting, like they got all the boys in that grade to come through and like their parents, and we were all sitting there, and Sister Imelda was like, man, she laid the wood down that day, man. And so I remember, man. I remember when somebody broke, so she was like grinding away. Now, you know, I associated with them, but I wasn't part of them. So I was just like, I was sitting there like, all right, I want to see what's going to happen.
Right. You're like, well, it's not going to be me. I didn't do nothing.
But one of my friends cracked, man, and he was just like, look, I'm just going to tell you the truth. And I was just like, damn, dog, why you got to be you,
everybody in the room is like, we knew it was going to be him.
Oh, man, why you got to tell, man?
Damn.
And so,
so you have a Catholic school experience too. It's very interesting.
So what was yours like?
I mean, we had nuns like that. I went to an all-girls school, so I feel like that was a great choice, you know, on my mother's part.
Okay.
Because I would have been wilding out otherwise.
Okay, that's what's up.
And I still managed to, you know.
It's an elementary school, you're saying?
In high school.
Oh, okay. The Maria. Okay.
Yeah, in high
but
school.
what was it like in the elementary school, especially? So you're very cultural. You're very in tune with your roots as being a Boricua, right? And the Taíno culture. How did you get to that place, being on the South Side, and you know, being the one that's the other in the classroom?
So
like how did your identity form?
So that's super interesting, right? Because I mentioned this to somebody else. I was like, was digging through old pictures with my mom, and we started finding like all the class pictures.
Yeah.
From like when my brother was in grammar school to my sister, 7 years later, me, you know? And so it's just interesting to see how the racial demographics shifted across the years, right? Like you can see the history of gentrification and like the white flight that happened on the South. You can see it through the pictures, through the school pictures, you know? And then by the time I left, like by the time I went to high school, the neighborhood was completely different.
So
demographically, it was mostly Mexican. So
it was you were by Market Park ish area.
Yes, exactly.
Right, and so that area changed
drastically,
really quick.
And it was one of the most notorious for redlining practices in the city. So like Gage Park, Marquette Park. I'm trying to think what else is over that way, like McKinley, you know, so like all those Southwest side neighborhoods were notorious for redlining Black people out of the neighborhoods. Yeah. So you can see the history of that, right? Like in the class pictures, it's really trippy.
So you have like, you're the only brown kid, and then the next grade,
exactly.
Like, there's a sprinkler.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden,
exactly. It's exactly
you see
what it
the
is.
white kids diminish in your
But then it becomes
pictures.
culturally interesting because it's like, well, then I became like the only Puerto Rican, right? Because there was not a lot of by that time I was in high school, most of the Puerto Ricans on the South Side had moved north, gone back to Puerto Rico, moved to Florida, you know, so there's like another migration shift there in that neighborhood. So then I grew up being like, you know, with my Latina friends being like the only Puerto Rican. Okay. But then I was also into theater. So I was a theater nerd.
Okay.
And then I got into hip hop, and then I started doing graffiti. So it was like,
for real, what did you write?
I used to write Sleek.
From what crew?
I was part of FCT crew for a couple months. I want to say maybe like less than a year. Okay. Because then I left to school. But I used to kick it really hard with TMS.
Okay.
Yeah, because my boyfriend was part of TMS and like all the homies and stuff. So,
all right. TMS. I'm thinking
Noble.
Okay.
Oh my God. Se me van los nombres ahora.
Yeah.
Teal, Seal, Actor, Peas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Peas.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah. San Juan. Ben Lamar Gay used to rock with TMS back in the day. A lot of people don't know that. Okay. Ben used to rock out.
Nice,
like on some
man.
real, yeah.
That's what's up, man. So you were like a super duper hip hop head.
I did, and then I ended up working at Underground Wheels at Fort City.
What?
So I was the girl behind the counter at Underground Wheels, which, if people don't know, is also kind of fits into like old school Chicago hip hop lore because.
You used to get your mixtapes there.
Exactly. You know, so that store was owned by Doug Infinite.
What? Damn, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
By Doug.
Giving a shout out to your family. Like, what was your family dynamic like? So you were the baby.
I'm the baby, the family. So my mom was at that point like stay at home. She used to babysit kids in the house. So she was like that señora that everybody would drop
nanny.
the kid. Yeah. So at one time she'd have like 3 or 4 kids at a time.
Nice.
Yeah. So people used to drop them off really, really early in the morning.
What was it like to have other children?
I hated it when I was little, you know.
They used to break your toys?
No, they used to just, I would be like, I don't even get time with my mom and these kids, you know, who are these kids over here? Like, I can't get it.
Yeah, like, you special? You special?
Exactly. I used to be jealous. But then when I got older, I'd always wanted like a little brother or sister. So they kind of became like younger brothers and sisters.
And what was it like having older brothers and sisters?
So my brother left to the Navy when he was 18. So he left when I was like 5 years old.
So you really didn't know him growing up?
My relationship with him is like really, really different than, you know, like the one with my sister. Like my sister and I grew up together because my sister was still in, No, she hadn't gotten married yet. She got married after I graduated college. So so when I left to college, my sister was still living at home.
So you're super tight with her.
I'm pretty close. Yeah, I'm pretty close with her.
And then how was it being the baby?
So, oh my goodness.
Especially because did they follow the rules of like what you're supposed to do to sobresalir, to come ahead and like.
Yeah, my brother and my sister are both cops.
Oh, wow. What's that like?
I mean, I've always been the oddball out in the family.
Yeah, I mean, because
I've always been the artist. I've always been the very sensitive one. I've always been, you know, like I remember my first time being on stage was in kindergarten at St. Basil. You know, like on 55th and Wood.
Nice.
The school's there, but the church is gone. They tore the church down. And I remember being on stage and be like, "This is amazing. Yeah. So I was the baby. So then my brother left. He went to the Navy. And then he came back when I was like 10, right?
Sure.
And then he lived with us for a little while. Then he kind of moved out on his own. And I was pretty independent, though, because there's such a big age gap.
Yeah, between all of you, no?
Between all of us. There's 7 years between all of us. So my brother's 14 years older and my sister's 7 years older.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I'm close with my sister, but there's also like kind of like a generational thing, happening between the three of us. So, imagine that even like with my parents, just like the cultural gaps and,
For sure. Sort of thing. Yeah. I couldn't imagine it,
yeah.
Like I have two kids and they're 4 years apart.
Yeah.
And like to think about starting over, oh my God,
yeah.
that's scary to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh man, I don't want to be changing diapers. Like we finally got to the point where they're like, they're independent. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to worry about that stuff. So I have like conocidos or friends, right? Yeah, like friends that are like they just had babies, and you're like, whoa. Like one of my friends, David, is having a baby. Like he should be having it like right now.
Wow.
Like crazy. And so it's just like, man.
Yeah.
I was watching the Super Bowl with him, and it was just like, yo, you about to go down that roller coaster.
Damn.
Again. You know what I'm saying? I was like, tip number 1, nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just winging
There's
it.
no handbook for this shit, right?
Yeah.
There's none anywhere.
But yeah, so okay, so you're growing up.
Yep.
You're going to this school. It's kind of like changing.
Mm-hmm.
How did you come in? And then the other thing is that the South Side is dominated by Mexicanos.
Yes.
So it's just like, how did you come into it? Was it at that age or still like, how did you come into
poetry?
Come into you and
so,
forming your identity?
So my, let me think. So freshman year, I meet a boy, and the boy is really into hip hop. So that's one thing, right? So I start really listening to music. I start, noticing graffiti and all of this stuff. The summer before my sophomore year, before school was over, I saw a flyer for an opportunity to be like a volunteer summer camp counselor.
Okay.
And I wanted to get out the house because I didn't want to be in the house with my mom all summer, So I was like, So I signed up, and it was through a organization called the Southwest Youth Collaborative, right?
Okay.
And so
where the Hip Hop University used to be.
Yes, University of Hip Hop.
Oh, University of Hip Hop.
Yeah. And so some of my mentors there, Jeremy LaHood, Jonathan Peck, Jillian Young Miller, Pablo Icarina, Camille O'Day.
Shouts out.
Yeah. Those are all really significant people on this journey, So you got to shout them out. Rami, because the Arab American Action Network was next to us, and so
Iman.
Rami, Iman. Melisha Sargis was a poet. Lisa Alvarado. So all these people I met through Luis Rodriguez. I met through Southwest Youth Collaborative, who became my mentor and ended up publishing my first book.
Dope.
So I volunteered for the summer camp, and 2 of the staff were running the camp, and they were really like looking to identify a group of young people that they could kind of bring together to the table.
Sure.
And mentor and develop,
Mm-hmm.
with like organizing skills and creating programs. And the really unique thing about the Southwest Youth Collaborative was that for every position on the board of directors, there was a corresponding youth position. And so we had equal voice anytime that they voted on funding, anytime that, there was
still
projects. It's an amazing model, way the hell ahead of its time. Like, if anybody knows, hit me up. Tell me who has a, and this is in the early mid 90s, you know? And Jeremy and Jonathan had come from Earlham College, and they were young organizers like during all the apartheid stuff happening on college campuses. So they kind of came
prepared
with that, and they were really into hip hop, and and they wanted to work with young people. And, you know, they're the ones who gave me books about the Young Lords, books about the Black Panthers, stuff about SNCC, right? So, like, for my history paper, my junior year, I wrote a whole thing.
Oh, you turned into a revolutionary, yo. They were like, yo, where'd you come from?
All the way. Yeah. So I got really politicized from a really young age. And then when I started learning more about the history of Puerto Rico and the role of the United States, right? Because now I'm learning all these things. I'm like, they're not talking about any of this in school, you know?
For sure.
And,
I mean, I was just having a conversation with my mentor yesterday, as a matter of fact. It's just like, it was on purpose.
Yeah.
You got taught Columbus.
100%.
Like
100%.
This, and then your side of the story was omitted because they didn't want you to see your power. I mean, speaking of what your experience, right? My experience is very similar to yours. So when I was a junior, I was 18, and I was over there by the Army surplus store by Belmont and like Clark, right? So
Is that still there?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
but
my God.
I used to get my fatigues there, right?
I used to get my, you know, everyone started wearing Docs, but then people started wearing like the actual combat boots. I had my Army issue pair of combat boots from that Army surplus store.
Yeah,
wow.
you used to get your gas
Clark and
masks
Belmont.
there.
Yeah, Clark and Belmont. Wow.
So junior year, right? I'm coming out and I see a girl, right? Or like a woman, and she's with her little sister, and I don't know where my confidence came from, but I approached that person and I was like, yo, you are incredibly beautiful and I want to get to know you. Is it possible for me to invite you sometime to someplace? And she was like shocked, right? And so she gave me her number. You know, I was like, I'm going to call right away. No, I'm not going to call right away, right? I'm going to play it cool. But then I ended up calling her the next day. And I was like, yo, we started vibing out. She was 24 and I was 18. And so it was just like, during that time, she would always invite me places and I could never go.
Okay.
I didn't have an ID. So she was just like, yo. And then there was a certain point where she was like, bro, like, what's going on, man? I keep on inviting you to these places and you keep on giving me excuses about like this happened and this happened.
I can't go.
So I finally got a fake ID.
21.
I got a fake ID later because I knew somebody from the Art Institute that I used to work with that knew somebody that made an ID, and I got a New York ID. But that's another story. But what ended up happening was she like exposed me to, I mean, I was already a poet.
Yeah.
Like writing, but like not exposed to the culture. So she was exposing me to Aslan. She was exposing me to like the Mexica, to Tenochtitlan, to the Last Poets, to Erykah Badu, to, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like
very similar. Yeah, I got exposed to so much, like, you know, so politically I got exposed to stuff. Artistically, right? One of the mentors there is the person who gave me a copy of Aloud, the anthology from the New York Poets Cafe. You know, the music that I started listening to, they were like, you know, giving me stuff to read. It's just, and
you're hungry for knowledge and you just keep on eating it.
Spiritually too, because at that time, Luis Rodriguez was working with the organization called Youth Struggling for Survival that he had started here in Chicago, working with current and previously gang-affiliated youth. And so they used to do a lot of rites of passage work with them. So they used to take a whole bunch of these young people, mostly boys, to do sweat lodges. And so my first sweat lodge was through with Luis Rodriguez. So it was it was all, I don't know, it just so many full circle kind of moments, you know, when I look back at this point in my life right now, it's like, wow, it's all pointing me in the same direction, you know, like guiding me.
I mean, it's important on the South Side, especially. I mean, I don't know what it's like to grow up on the north side, although hip hop did expose me to the north side and just in general Chicago.
Yeah.
Because it was like you went to the party where it was at.
100%.
And then everybody at the party was from somebody else, somewhere else. And it was like, if you were a dope B-boy, you were like, yo, you're a dope B-boy.
Exactly.
Or a B-girl, you're a dope B-girl. Like, it wasn't like, oh, you're from the north side, I'm not going to talk to you.
Yeah.
It's like everybody was just there with like family. But on the south side, it's definitely like interesting that, you know, we're taught to like be like, yo, over there across the viaduct is where the other people live.
Yep.
And like, you don't go over there because you're going to be in danger. You're going to be in trouble.
100%.
And so
going back to what I was telling you about how segregated Chicago is, right? So like those viaducts and the freeways
and the train tracks.
They cut the city up into quadrants and, you know, quarters and all of that stuff. Yeah. And so like those pockets, you know, those like geographical anomalies, I don't know what you would call train tracks and
like borders.
Like, borders, man-made borders. Yeah. Actually, that's actually what they were. They were man-made borders in one city.
Yeah, and so it just like it divided us. It was like it made other communities suspect. And so you approached the situation where you were like suspect. And the other thing is that we were kind of, you know, not to speak for everybody, but it was just like you were Catholic, you were supposed to do this. It was like there was like a formula to do stuff.
Yeah, an order of operations. Remember when you had to like break down sentences, the order of operations?
Yeah. And so it was just like people like us broke that mold and had to stand up for something, right? Like was there a time growing up that you wanted to change something?
Oh, God, I wanted to change the world. Everything. I wanted to, you know, I wanted to free Puerto Rico. I wanted to
as a little kid
eradicate racism. You know, I mean, this is like in high school, you know. So I wanted to go to law school. That was one thing that I thought I was going to do because once I, you know, started reading all of this stuff, I was like, I think maybe, you know, being a lawyer would be where to go with this, you know? So I was like, and then I got to college and I took a political science class and I was like, no.
Nah, I'm good.
I'm good.
Pass
I
on
was
this
like,
one.
brr, brr, brr.
Nice.
I was like, no, I'm an artist. I'm supposed to create stuff.
Okay.
You know, I think I had, as a kid, I wanted to be a choreographer. I wanted to be a teacher. I think once I got to high school, writing really is when, like, that's when writing really became the vehicle.
Were you always good at writing? Were you like the English, like straight A student?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. I went to spelling bee and everything. I went to like the state.
Oh man, I'm that spelling bee that like you would do it in the class.
Spelling bee. I went to like a semifinal first for like a state spelling bee.
I'm the antithesis of you.
I used to love. I mean, I was a bookworm too, so I used to go to the library and get like an armload of books and bring it back and read them in like a week during the summer. Yeah.
I was that kid that said that. I was the first one to
Super
sit down.
Nerd.
I was like that kid that was like the spelling bee. It'd be like everybody be cheering me on.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, sorry, Jesus, you're gonna have to sit down.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't spell for. I mean, I now can, but it took me a while to like finally figure stuff out. But even now, I'm like, I question myself. I'm like, am I spelling this? I'm glad that like on your text, it like autocorrects or like tells you something's wrong. Because I'd be sending all types of weird texts.
I feel that way about math. I'd be like, oh my God.
I'm good at math.
See, I'm not.
Oh man, I could flex some math.
No, I was good with geometry, and I think it's because I'm a visual person. Well, like once I got to high school, we started doing algebra 1. I was like, okay, and then geometry, and then you start going into like calculus and trigonometry, and I was like, I'm done here. Yeah, we're not going any further.
Nice.
I was like, so I was always a bookworm, but I was also, you know, really, I guess maybe being the youngest in the house, feeling like I didn't really have a voice at home. So like being able to get up on a stage and read something that I wrote felt very like
empowering,
very empowering, and that I had people around me who encouraged it. You know.
And what was that like the first time that you stepped on stage and like really represented? Like not like I know as a little kid you were talking about being put on stage. As a little kid I was put on stage as well. Yeah. I there was the Mexican Independence Parade. Yeah. And I had a charro suit. Okay. And my mom gave me like this toy guitar.
Oh,
and I went up there on the stage. Like, there was a contest for to win a piñata.
Was it full or empty?
What do you mean? Oh, the piñata?
Yeah.
I don't know. I never got it. That's part of the story, yo. They never gave me my piñata, yo.
Damn.
But I got on the newspaper.
It probably would have been empty anyway.
I got on the newspaper, and you see me on the stage.
Yes.
Like, they described it as like the little shorty got up on stage, and he
Oh,
wasn't really like singing the song, but like he made the crowd go wild, and he won the contest.
Yeah.
So it was just like, yeah, you see me on the stage with the little guitarra. So, but what was I asking? I was asking you, what was the first time that you actually like performed your poetry or just went up on stage? Because you're obviously a theater kid as well,
Yeah,
right?
I am. Like went up and did my own thing. I wrote a monologue for like one of our variety shows in high school because I was like, in the thespian club and stuff. So we used to do like an improv thing. So I would do skits. I wrote a monologue one time. And I can't remember exactly when it was. I don't think I read it at school. I must have gone somewhere else, like with maybe some of the folks from the collaborative, or maybe it was at the collaborative where I would start reading like the stuff that I was writing because we had a writing workshop there too.
Okay.
So I think that's where I really started sharing a lot of my stuff. Yeah.
Well, my
And then the summer before I left to college, the summer after my senior year, I started going to like open mics in Chicago and stuff like that.
For me, it was like, so my family is in Little Village, and then my dad's side of the family lived typically by 18th Street in Pilsen.
Okay.
And so they live right there on 18th, and like it would be probably like 19th and Ashland.
Okay. Oh,
and
wow.
And there was a poetry or a cafe that used to be called 500 Nations.
Oh,
and do you remember?
I don't remember, but I feel like the name sounds familiar, but yeah.
And then it got turned into the same owner rebranded it to Teocalli. But during the time that it was 500 Nations, my cousins were like, hey, we're going to go check this poetry. And they knew I used to write, right? Like I was that kid that was like, and I got my poems, and maybe I spit it to them, but I never performed it out loud. And so they were like, hey, we're going to go to this poetry reading. You good? And you're like, yeah, come through. We'll watch the poets do their thing, right? And so I'm sitting there the whole time, and like all of a sudden they call my name up. So one of my cousins signed me up to perform poetry, yo.
You're like, what?
Man. And I won the competition, and I didn't get my prize then either.
Damn, you didn't get your another, man, two piñatas.
Nobody's getting me
You're 0 for 2,
stuff,
man.
So I ended up winning the competition, and there started my poetry, like my poetry life, where I was just like, yo. And then I formed a group called 500 Nations in high school. Okay,
that's a dope name.
And so we were like, yo, and obviously our podcast is called 500 and Growing. So it's 500 years of what do you call it? 500 years of colonization, and we're growing out of it. And so
7 generations, right?
Yeah. And so that's how my poetry career started, where it was like I was just pushed in by my family. So you said that what was the first time that you actually shared something that really meant something to you? Or, let me ask you another question real quick, because it's going to touch on your youth maybe. Was there ever a time when you wanted to stand up for yourself, or when you had to stand up for yourself?
You know what? I was just going to say some of the things that I actually would write were speeches, right? Because, so going back to Southwest Youth Collaborative, I was on the youth board, right? And so they would bring me out to events and be like, this is our youth chair, right? So I would be asked,
you were the chair.
I was the chair. I was the chair of the youth board.
Okay.
So I would get asked to come speak at stuff, and they already knew that I was like, I was like kind of outgoing in that way. I would say I realized much later in my life that I'm very much an introvert. But at that time, like, they were like, yeah, but there's that, but there's that part of me that's like very comfortable on stage, but then I turn it off and I, go back to my little hovel.
For sure.
But so I would get asked to speak at stuff, and at the time, the CAPS program was being implemented in the neighborhood, right? So the Chicago Police Department had this like community outreach. Yeah. So I, being a little hip hop head that I was, I used to wear sneakers and like guys jeans and like big t-shirts, and I used to like put my hair up in a ponytail and wear a cap. I was very much a tomboy.
Yeah.
And so I had to go meet with this police officer at the station in Fort City, where the CAPS office was. Mm-hmm. And the organization knew that they wanted me to speak at this event, and I don't even know why we had to go meet him. I think he was like organizing the event or something like that through the CPD. And so he like looked at me up and down, and he's like, "So, what are you planning on talking about? Like, what do you say to people like when they look at you and they kind of seeing you when people look at you and they see you dressed up like basically like a hood rat, right?" He didn't say that, but like, just dressed the way that you are and, looking like.
Well, at least he had that decency not to like be overt about it. But
yeah, I can't remember what word he used. I can't remember.
He said, punch him.
Yeah, like if he looked like a gang member or whatever. Yo me prendí. I was like, and I don't remember what I said. I said something like, I was like, if people are stupid enough to like, to judge me based on this, I was like, what? They don't know that I've just been accepted to 4 colleges. They don't know that I have a 4.0. They don't know that I speak 2 languages, that I hold on a job, and that I'm part of like 3 organizations on campus. I was like, and that I'm a youth leader in my community. I was like, that's their loss.
And I'm smarter than you.
And I'm probably smarter than you at 17 years old, fool.
Yeah. And,
right.
Man.
Yeah.
And how did that feel to do that?
17-year-old Mayda. Well, I went up when the event happened. I wrote a speech.
Did you hammer him?
I did.
Ooh, he was sitting there like just taking it.
I absolutely did. And Camille O'Day will testify to that moment, I think, to this day. I don't know if she remembers, but she cried when I came off stage. Yeah. Oh, man. So Camille was the executive director of Southwest Youth Collaborative for a long time. Uh-huh. Dope, amazing, brilliant, phenomenal Palestinian woman.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of Palestinians living on 63rd Street back in the day in the 80s too. So,
yep.
And they were, so that was part of my early education.
And then, what was the message
of
like
that speech?
Gist, yeah.
Basically, like of what he had done. Of
like
people look at me, you're stereotyping me as like, you don't know this. And I had to, like, I listed off all of my accomplishments, and people in the audience were like, oh. I was like, yeah, you picked the wrong one. Nice. I knew then. Man, you picked the wrong one.
That's dope,
Can I curse
man.
on here? I don't know what I can't say. You probably beep it out. But if you have to be like, you picked the wrong one, motherfucker. So yeah.
I was talking to my mentor yesterday, right? I've been 9 years sober, so I was actually talking to my sponsor.
Okay.
We hang out every year, and he gives me a coin, and we go to the gym that he's a member at. That's like a really huge gym. And so it's like a special thing that we do every year.
That's awesome.
And so, I was, he's Polish.
Okay.
And we were talking about like cultural experiences. And it's like when you're a shorty, there's a certain point, especially when you're kind of like what people would call the black sheep. Mm-hmm. Like you think completely different from your family. That you have to like stand up for yourself and you have to defend what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And the one thing that was dope about my mom was that like she, I've talked about it before. Like she ruled with an iron hand, so I got hit a lot.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about this table. This was the table that I used to eat dinner at. That like when I got in trouble, I was getting spanked around this table and stuff like that. But the one thing that my mom did was she allowed me to have my own voice. Mm-hmm. And so she would be like, okay, Jesus, I can see where you're coming from. I don't necessarily agree with that for my own life.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
But I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And so there were those moments where you were just like, I ain't feeling this. Like there's something wrong with the situation. And kind of like when you unplug from the mainstream where everybody's like, okay, you go right, you go left. And you're like, wait, I don't have to move.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you start seeing things from an outside perspective, from a bird's eye view. And I think that's kind of like those moments where you're just like, you're a person of authority and you're being completely condescending and demeaning.
Mm-hmm.
And the wild part is that, you know, you may be doing it with malice, but you may not actually know that you're even doing it because you're so plugged into the machine. Yeah. And so being an artist gave you like an out to think outside of that. And then the supports that you had were incredible too. Yeah. For you to be pushed to have that, right? To like go out there and do that. Yes. You're representing for all 100%. Of us. Yeah. And so I think that was like a really powerful part of making you who you've become.
100%. You know? Yeah, I wouldn't be. I mean, there's, you know, even mentors in college as well, like my dance teacher, Sandy Burton. I got to shout all these people out. You know, Kweyao, who was the music director for Kusika and a teacher at Williams College too when I got out there. Mm-hmm. So just like people along the way who were like, who saw something in me that I didn't even realize or understand what it was at that point, you know, and to have people like that in your corner at such a young age, you know, and kind of push you along and just say little things here and there that, you know, are like, oh, you have something. I don't even think you realize what it is yet, but you have something. Yeah.
Affirming, especially on the level of like that your parents won't affirm you necessarily because they might not see that part of you. Yeah. Because we act differently in different places. Yeah.
Or they don't know how to nurture it, you know, or they might feel like they're not able to. I think that's always, you know, an interesting take, I guess. You know, like you have this kid who's super artsy and really passionate and super sensitive and, you know, loves to take risks. And, you know, if you've never had an opportunity to be that or experience that, or if you just don't understand it, how do you parent that, you know? Yeah. And so, you know, I think a lot of times, you know, parents can parent out of fear because they don't understand something. Yeah. You know, so.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing that I realize is that, you know, there are a lot of changes that I've made with the way that I raise my children, but my mom was doing what she could do.
She could too. They did the best. That's it.
You know, I could say that, you know, I got beat up more than other people, but I was also being raised in Little Village, and that's the way she learned to make people do what they needed to do.
And she trying to keep you off them streets.
Man, yeah, I got it too.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's for real, especially as a boy. And this, you know, like I was like, man, 18th Street. I was like, yo, like my mom would be like, si vamos para la 18, we gotta come home before it gets dark.
Pretty much.
You know, like, and look at 18, look at Little Village, and look at Pilsen.
It's a different zone.
Totally different. Yeah. It's like the it spot. And I'm like, when did 18th Street become?
When all these magazines were like, this is the cool space to go to in Chicago. Like, and then the people who read those magazines are like, oh, for real? And then they start seeing the property values. Yeah. And they're like, they're still affordable for them. Yep. You know? And so that's what ends up happening. I remember when it happened to Lincoln Park.
Yeah, exactly. It's about to happen to the Southwest side now, like with this Obama library and everything too. Man. And I think it's gonna... You kind of already see it happening on the Southwest side. Yeah. Like in my neighborhood, they're just flipping these beautiful bungalows because they're great. You got 3 floors to work with. If you got capital, you can gut it out, start from scratch. You know, you got a little yard, you got a garage.
Yeah, and space. That's one thing that the South Side has.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
And when you're growing up as an adult, did you ever stand in the road of life and you see the fork coming and you have to pivot one way or another, right? And what was that decision like, especially for artists? Like it's like sometimes it's like keep on believing in yourself. Yep. When everything's falling apart and everybody's telling you like, Jesus or Mayda, are you gonna keep doing this?
It came later. I mean, I would say that came like it came in college and then it came after college too. So like
talk
right
about
before, both. So in college, you know, I really went with the idea, with the intention of like I want to explore the possibility of law school and, you know, stuff like that. And because I loved all of the organizing, I loved all of the community work and, community politics. And then I took a poli-sci class, and I was just like, I can't do this for 4 years. So I want to say my sophomore year, I took an art class. Mm-hmm. So I needed like a fine arts elective.
Which one?
I took drawing 101.
Ooh.
Yeah. Basic drawing. And my drawing teacher, Professor Epping, there's somebody else, was a phenomenal professor. He was so dope. He was so good. And I loved his class. So I signed up for drawing 2 my second semester. And another art class. I can't remember which one. And then I decided to declare being an art major. And when my mom was, I was like, I just declared a major. I declared art. She's like, what? I thought you're going to go to law school. I was like, well, I can still take classes.
She was like, oh, she's going to be a lawyer. And then you came back like, you would be an artist.
Yeah, because she loved to argue and she loved to be on stage and she loved to argue and she was so political. That seemed like the natural thing, right?
I get you.
But I'm an artist.
Damn.
I'm an artist. I'm a writer. I'm a performer. I'm a thinker. I'm a creator.
Did your mom react like she was disappointed?
She was like, but I was not at home, so what could she really do, right?
Yeah.
So I kept taking art classes, and I really loved it, and then I would take English classes. So I took a buttload of English classes, some history classes. I really loved history, So that was what I did. So, that was tough because I was like, well, I feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and this is where I'm learning the most, right? Like all these other classes, I was not feeling super confident in, because it's like, I had this amazing education, but when I got to school, like I'm competing with kids who've, been in places like Choate or Exeter and these private schools, right? Like boarding schools. They've been there since like first grade. So I was having a lot of trouble reading like, academic like texts where, oh my God, it was really difficult for me to get through.
And you're a first generation?
I'm a first gen, yeah.
So it's just like your family doesn't know what resources are available to you. So
I
they're
didn't
just like,
know.
mija, I don't know what you're doing, but just do what you need to do. And it's like, you're like all
you're not
out
really
there on your own.
Yeah, and then I don't really, you don't really know how to ask for help. You're not really supposed to ask for help. Culturally, there's that thing too. So there are resources on campus, but, and then you're just navigating. I was navigating this very like New England, old money, old school, like, like a couple hundred years old type of thing, like generational wealth, generational legacy kids at the school, Williams College in Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially Massachusetts.
Especially.
Man. I hear that it's kind of like our Bridgeport.
That's Boston. Yeah. That's Boston. Okay. I would say, there's parts of Boston like that. Massachusetts is very, you just got to think about like Plymouth Rock is in Massachusetts, so this is literally like the founding of what we now know as the United States. Yeah. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that kind of history on the East Coast.
How did you navigate that, being so cultural and being
really
so like not anti, but like just different perspective on that?
That was really interesting because I was doing a lot of community organizing stuff. So I definitely came in as like a student activist.
Sure.
Like I was a young activist in high school. So I went into college and, I was like, well, why am I studying these, subjects, these old white men and these essays with all this thick ass language, like, that I can't even understand, that I need a dictionary to get through when you could say it so much simpler. It's all this
codified
theory. And I was like, I want to get out on the street and like be in action, like what are we doing to get Latino studies on campus? What are we doing to get representation on campus, get more professors, So yeah. I definitely went in with that kind of like with that energy and with that vibe. It was really hard. It was really hard.
I can imagine.
It was really hard. And I think when I look back at that time, I also kind of start to think about like my mental health at that time. Like I think that's when I really started to struggle with different things. So that was like that I can kind of look back on and track, right? Like that was my first kind of experience with being depressed,
Sure.
Or it was like I also have come to believe that I have undiagnosed ADHD. Like the more I read about it and the more I kind of, read articles and all of this stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I really think this is me. And so I think I can kind of trace that difficulty back to that period of my life too, you know, of really struggling with keeping myself organized. And, things are much less structured when you get to college. And I was like, I thrived, really, really thrived up to that point academically because there was so much structure. Once that was taken away, I feel like
you got to get to class at 9. If you don't get to class,
Mami ya no te está levantando. She's not knocking on the door to get you up in the morning. Yeah. You don't have classes all day.
You have the lectures with like
thousands of people. You never get to meet the professor, or you don't have professors that you really connect with, and they're super dry, and it's a lot to get adjusted to.
Sure.
On the other side, I'm really glad that I had a liberal arts education. I think when I got to my junior year, I finally figured it out, and I finally figured out my flow. I studied abroad. I was really into the art classes. I was experimenting. I was writing again. I was creating videos and drawings and dancing and exploring all these things together in the same spaces and in conversation with each other. So
when all those spaces kind of come together like Voltron, and it makes sense.
So much sense. And I was like, damn, how can we support? I met a lot of people when I was at school who had like a gap year, like they got admitted and then they took a year off, like they deferred for a year, and then they went somewhere. And there's countries that actually pay high school graduates to do that. Like the country will pay for a gap year for you to travel the world and kind of get to see things before you decide to go start college. So you have some perspective, some experience. Yeah, exactly. And I really wish that there was something like that built into our education system here to encourage.
Oh man, that's the first thing they cut.
Oh man, that's the first thing they would get rid of. Free thinking. I mean, hey, no more of that here.
Especially, talking about what just happened right now with the Super Bowl and being Boricua, you must have been like, but the reaction to that of I'm not going to understand what's happening is the same reaction that reaction of why do our kids need to go to another country and learn about another culture? Because
it makes you have empathy.
Yes. Monolingualism is one of the things that has been the detriment of this country.
100%. People don't understand that your brain works differently when you know how to speak more than one language. Different parts of your brain that you wouldn't use otherwise light up when you're able to think, to express yourself, or in that process of language processing, right? So it's just ironic to me that. So I studied French in high school, right? I really wish I had just done Spanish because it probably would not have been an easy A, because every native Spanish speaker thinks Spanish in high school is an easy A, and it's not, because they teach you Spain Spanish.
Yeah.
But, it's I spend my childhood in this neighborhood in grammar school, and they're telling us to not speak our language, and
assimilate.
You have to assimilate. You can't speak Spanish in school. And then you get to high school and it's like, well, if you want to get into a good college, you have to have 4 years of a foreign language. And it was just well, I was born with the foreign language, and you just tried to take it from me. You just told me that I couldn't, that I couldn't use it. So,
well, they didn't think you were going to make it to college.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, exactly. Because I dressed like a hoodlum.
Man, you still want to beat that cop up, huh?
That dude. That dude.
And so, so you start flourishing as an artist, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When did you totally hone in on poetry? Because that's one of your
my senior year.
That's one of your I feel like you're in the road and you're on the artist road now, right?
Yes.
And you're just what do I do?
What's your
drawing,
primary medium?
How did
you? I at this point I have gone full circle back to that period of my life, and definitely consider myself a multidisciplinary artist.
Sure.
Poetry and writing is my main medium, my primary medium, but there's photos and playing around with videos and dancing and songwriting and did I wear my earrings today? You know, I paint earrings. These are mine.
Those are yours?
These are mine.
Oh.
So, you know, I like to make things. So I definitely consider myself multidisciplinary at this point. But yeah, I would say my senior year, I started writing again. And I put together like a whole one-woman show. And then some of the poems that I wrote for that, I ended up doing on Broadway. So I knew that I wanted to write by my senior year. I was like, okay, I got to do this in some kind of way.
Who at that time affirmed that you were capable of doing that? There had to have been like a mentor or somebody that was like...
My dance teacher.
Gave you that passage.
Yeah. So I never like did poetry academically. I think I took a poetry class my freshman year and I hated it. I was like, this is so boring because it was all
like Robert Frost.
Yeah, all of that. And I was, really reading into like reading more contemporary stuff, which, so tell me the question again.
So there was was there a person that was like, yo,
my dance
you're
teacher,
dope
Sandra
at
Burton.
this? Like you need to you could hit it running.
So yes, Sandra Burton in the Williams College dance department, and Quayao as well. Ibaya, rest in peace, Quayao. So when I get to my senior year, I've written this performance piece. I've edited these videos from some of my poems. I've turned little bits of poems into videos. I've incorporated them into the performance, right? Because I did this independent study on poetry and performance. I thought I was just going to be writing a paper. And then Sandy was like, aren't you going to write poems? And I was like, well, I wasn't really thinking. She's like, well, aren't you going to do a reading? Aren't you going to do a performance of this? And I was like, okay. I was like, I guess I can do that. And she's like, you can do whatever you want. So I was like, oh, and I was taking a video class at the same time. And so my video teacher as well, Liza, I think her last name was Peterson. I can't remember. Liza. I was working on one thing for my art thesis, right? For my BA, for my major.
Sure.
And I was going to do a documentary about students of color in the arts at Williams. It was so fucking dry and so boring. And so I had started creating on the side these little videos with bits of my poems and editing them together and doing all this stuff. And she was like, what is this? She's like, why aren't you doing this for your thesis? She was like, make more of this. So I did a series of like 5 little like experimental poetry films and they were in the performance. And then my music teacher was like, well, why don't you have some music, And so I had music in the piece. I incorporated him and one of the other students who was a percussionist, and they played while I was reading poems. So
yeah, it's dope how
yeah,
we kind of trap ourselves in what we think is like the right way to do it.
Yep.
An example is like that I've seen on social media is like an animal that's kind of put in a cage.
Yep.
And then they get rid of the cage.
Yep.
And they just stay where the cage was.
Yes.
Until they're like, something makes them like travel outside the cage and they're like, oh snap. Like there's a whole nother world out here. And 100%. I think that's one of the things that professor provided you.
So the really interesting thing is that, okay, so my senior year, I took a history class. I took a theater class. I took my thesis seminar and then the independent study. So I didn't really tell anybody besides my dance teacher, right? At that time, the dance department was not considered an academic department at Williams.
Ooh.
Right?
Man, that's not cool.
But
because they're not valuing the arts.
100%. So you couldn't like study art or you couldn't study dance, right? They would offer like these one-off classes.
Yeah, it was like an extra thing to 100%. What you were doing.
Like a, what do you call it? Like when you take a cluster, like a cluster of classes, a concentration. So, but what I was doing did not fit into the English department and it didn't fit into the theater department. So I registered my independent study through the theater department, but Sandra Burton, who was the dance teacher, was my my contact, like my thesis advisor.
Okay.
Right.
And she's the one that told you. Man, shout out to her, yo.
So I think Anna Bean was the professor who was there at the time. So she was the head of like the theater department. So I registered it as a theater independent study, but Sandy was my sponsor, basically. Okay. So she sponsored me. And then when the teachers found out, like when my art teachers found out, they were like, why didn't you tell me you were doing this? When my theater teacher found out, he was like, why didn't you tell me you were doing this? Right. So my professors were like, that I had put together this piece. Right.
And broken the mold while you
really
did it.
Broken the mold. Yeah. And then the way that I did it was one of my really good friends at the time was a dancer. And so he was doing his senior thesis, his seminar. And he did this like academic, like read a paper and then choreographed. And so it was this like choreographed presentation with video. It was beautiful. Mm-hmm. And so we did our final projects together on the same night.
Dope.
In the dance studio.
And that's cool that he had multidisciplinary work because it related to one another.
Yeah.
So people who went to that performance were like, they were probably blown out of their mind.
They were like, what? Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I remember getting like standing ovations the nights of my show and stuff like that. And
we were talking about the alter ego, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. At the beginning of our conversation.
Yeah, realizing I'm actually an introvert.
Like how do you manage that? Right? Because you were talking about getting a standing ovation and stuff like that. That had to blown up your ego where you're like, I made it. Right?
Yeah, but like I'm good at this. Like I found the thing I'm good at. You know, that's what I felt like.
And how do you manage those two different parts of your personality? Because I too am an introvert. Like I don't want to be around people.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
But I like being up on stage too.
I prefer being in small groups. Yeah. Or like one-on-one. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's if I'm at a party and I gotta like be in the group and everyone's like I'd rather just sit down. I'd rather find the corner in the party where the cat's hanging out and like hang out with the cat. Or find that one really interesting person who's like also kind of introverted and have like a great conversation like while you're showing each other dumb memes and shit like that, you know, like those are my kind of conversations. The big like group dynamic conversations and being out in public and being out in like really crowded spaces is like, ooh, you know, it's hard. I went the other week, I went to go see Ghostface. Okay. And I haven't been to a concert in forever, you know, like I don't go very often. Yeah. But I got some really, you know, like great price tickets. So I was like, all right, let me go. And I still found myself like hanging out in the back, you know, like where there were less people and just kind of trying to find the quiet spot where I could see everything and observe, but not necessarily have to be in it.
And then how do you turn yourself on? Right. So if you're trying to be in the back in the cut. Yeah. Right? Like, how do you turn yourself on and then turn yourself back off? Right?
It's different. I come from a much more relaxed place when I'm on stage right now. Okay. You know, even with this, it's a multimedia body of work called Herencia that I've been working on. And I didn't do all the whoosh, whoosh, whoosh big, you know, I just sat down in a chair, I had a music stand with the work in front of me. I had 2 guitar players on stage with me, and I sat down and I read for the entire evening. Okay. You know? And I much prefer coming from that place now.
It's more natural
something small of bringing people in. I feel like in my 20s, I really projected trying to like push that energy out. I don't know how to explain it, right? So now it's more a sense of like,
well, the Southside Puerto Rican, man.
Yeah, 100%. She needed that at that time, man. She really needed that at that time. I mean,
you see that documentary, and when it gets to you, you're like, I'm a Southside Puerto Rican. Like it's like you got amp on that part. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my baby girl. So, baby Mayda. I gotta watch that. Yeah. I gotta watch that.
I think I still have it. Oh, do you have it?
I don't think I do.
I'll see if I can get it for you.
I don't think I have a copy of it. Yeah.
I might still have it.
I think I have some stuff that I need to like videos that I need to get put on like, I mean, I guess, on DVDs. I have some stuff on DVDs, but
yeah, but that's completely different from what you were saying now. Like it's more like serene. That Mayda was like up in your face, like in the Botanica.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I also feel like I'm a better writer now, you know? So my style has changed, right? Like you still find the fingerprints of that energy and that style in the work. It's just like much more contained and controlled now, right? And so I lean more on the power of the words, right? Mm-hmm. Like I let the words do the work instead of having to like overdo it myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how do you keep like the cultural work that you do, right? Like I see you with Ibeliz.
Ibeliz with Escuelita Bombera de Corazón. Yeah.
Like you
100%.
You do bomba, plena, right? Yeah. Like, how do you keep those cultural roots together, and how do you interact with your culture? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you keep that alive?
I mean, I've been studying bomba for like 15 years. So I first saw bomba in, let me think, 1992. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to learn how to dance bomba. But the group that was here in Chicago at the time, my mom wanted me to do more like música jíbara. So she put my sister and I in this other group with the same director, but a different style of music, different style of dance, and all of that. And then I lived in New York for a couple of years. You know, I went away to school, so there was none of that there. Mm-hmm. I lived in New York for a couple of years. And even in New York, it was very like the community really protected the art form. So it was, you know, it was hard to find. It wasn't everywhere when I was living there. So then I moved to LA. And I'm working on, you know, a piece, and I realized, you know, I haven't been to Puerto Rico in a really long time. So I start kind of going down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, I should go to Puerto Rico and go find bomba again, you know? And then I found a group that was like just starting off in LA. A bomba group, and they had just been to Puerto Rico. So I ended up linking back to bomba all the way out in LA.
Nice.
And the bomberos out there knew Ibeliz, because Ibeliz, you know, is like based out here in Chicago. Mm-hmm. But Hector Rivera from Welfare Poets moves to Chicago, is part of the bomba community here, helps start bomba con Bulla, or is a member of Bomba con Bulla, and then moves to Santa Ana, right? And his wife is part of like the Son Jarocho community out there, his partner at the time. And so folks, bomberos from Chicago would come to LA, bomberos from Puerto Rico would come to California, they would put them on the tour, and then people from New York and Chicago would come and hop out, you know, for like different events. So the bomba community really works like when there's somebody coming or there's a big event, people might travel into into that city to like go study, hang out, do bombazos, workshops, and all of that stuff.
Sure. It's it's like Jesse. Jesse does Kali, which is like the Filipino martial arts.
Yeah.
With the two sticks.
Yeah.
And his life is like that. Like he'll go to like he'll have something in Arizona, something in San Francisco, and like
graffiti writers rock like that too. You go to different cities, you find somebody from like the same crew. Capoeira works like that. You know, like the same school has different chapters in different cities. So you meet capoeiristas like all over the place. You know who they are.
Is that a Casio?
Yes, it is.
Man, you bringing it back, yo.
Yeah, with the calculator too.
Chill. Yeah. What's the square root of 7? No.
I don't know. I don't think it has square root on here. It just has plus, minus, times, and division.
That's dope, man. That's a throwback.
Yeah, I know. It reminds me of my my algebra teacher, Mr. Bean.
And you remember we couldn't have those.
Really?
No, we couldn't
cheat in school.
Yeah, they were like, "Yo, you can't wear that while you taking the test." Son.
Oh, damn!
I'd be like, "I could do the math without it. I want to know the time."
Yeah. This was a gift. I like it.
So, if you could speak to yourself as a child, what would you say to little Mayda?
What age?
Whatever age you want, or several ages. Like, I know that you were talking, so maybe as a child, but like also as the Southside Puerto Rican, Mayda, because you wanted to talk to her a little bit, or I sensed, I was like, I wanted to ask it right there, but then I was like, nah, we got to let it develop. But it's just like, what would you, like, if you could whisper in their ear something that would give them like a super start, like a lesson that you've learned in your life that you've healed from, maybe trauma that you've healed from, where you're just like, oh my
God, don't spend so much time worrying about the boys. That's what I would go back and tell 17-year-old Mayda. Okay. Yeah. Don't put so much weight on your relationships, proving your value. Yeah.
That's dope, man.
That's a big one.
I'm trying to teach that to my children. Yeah. To my girls.
To not center men, you know.
Love yourself.
Yeah, first.
And what about Shorty Mayda?
Little baby Mayda? Like, I'm trying to think of what a good age would be. Like, when was I really shy and awkward? I would say like 7th grade Mayda. Mm-hmm. You get cuter, don't worry about it.
Nice. You're gonna flourish. You're gonna be all right. You'll be all right.
You know I was gonna be a little skinny toothpick. Don't worry about it.
Man, you know what? Like 100. Like as a dad that has incredibly intelligent, beautiful children that are girls or women, it's just like, those are the things that I'm trying to let them know, and like consistently. So, you know, I have my daughters, when they come home, they're like, do you have the podcast stuff up? And I'm like, because, you know, we transform this space, right? I was telling you the different types of transformations that the space takes. And they'll be like, yeah. And we'll have like conversations. Like we'll do a podcast type situation with them, and they'll sit there and they'll ask me questions, right? And so
that's awesome. Do you ever publish them?
No. All right. So social media is a beast. Yeah. And one of the things that I want to do is I want to respect their privacy, because I don't know if like there's some that I just
would you put their voice up maybe without their faces?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Because that would be such a great. I've seen parents do that, like they're having these really beautiful moments with their kids where their kids are just saying something really profound. And it's just like, how cool that you got that, you know, like, and a lot of times they'll be very deliberate about just like not showing their face or, you know, not putting them out. But it's just like, I love hearing those moments without having to expose your child to like all of the monstrosity.
Yeah, because I was
that
just
is like, social media, you know.
I'm just like, yo, I want you to know that I want you to love yourself. Yeah. Because once you love yourself, then you're going to know what love is authentically. Yeah. And you're going to tap into that. And then you're also going to find somebody that cares about you as a person.
Yeah. You know exactly. Yeah. I mean, wow. I used to worry so much about how I looked when I was young. Like and I can't even imagine having to deal with that, and now social media and all these platforms and stuff for young girls. You know, it's a real thing. Like, and the bullying and the cyberbullying and all of that stuff.
She came and she told me about this situation that, you know, there are 2 little girls that are sisters that are just like real negative and telling people to shut up and like all types of stuff. And I'm like, yo, that's not right. How does that make you feel when you see that, or when you get told that? It's just like, I don't really like it. I was like, well, you got to speak up, you know what I'm saying? And you got to, you know, we could take it to the point where I teach her how to fight. And she could fight. Yeah. But before we get to that point, it's like still like
that comes later. She should know.
Yeah. And
you should teach her.
Yeah.
I feel like, man, I wish they had taught girls when I was in grammar school, you know, and the boys were getting frisky and trying to touch up girls and lift your skirt and, you know, all that like wild ass, inappropriate, like adolescent stuff, right? That young girls are oftentimes, even now, still, I read all these articles and stories about how like, oh, just let it go. No, this is inappropriate behavior, you know, and young boys are not checked very often. And, you know, and the girls are taught to just let boys be boys, you know. I wish they had taught us some self-defense. I would have knocked somebody's tooth out on several occasions.
It's interesting, like the things that society brings on kids, but women in general. Yeah. Like for your kids to come home and be like, Papi, you're black. And because you're the same color as Malia. and it's just like, how do I break this down now? Like, this is a systematic way of dividing people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like really teaching that to like, you know, I want my children to love themselves and to be who they are and not to be afraid and to heal. Like, I'm healing little Jesus too.
Yeah, 100%.
Through my kids, you know what I'm saying? And so I talk to when I talk to them, I'm talking to the little me all the time.
Yeah.
And so what happened to you when you fully concentrated on poetry, and how did you like get to that Poet Laureate status? Like, how did that happen?
I mean, that's been a journey, and it has not been a straight line. You know, there hasn't been a straight path. There's been a lot of ups and downs in that. Like, you know, I had this amazing creative period in my life, my senior year of college, and some of those poems that I ended up writing for that project, I ended up doing on Broadway, and Broadway was amazing. And then we went on tour, and then I started doing colleges and universities and flying back and forth and doing shows at all these schools, and life was good. And then the shows started to dry up.
Oh, snap.
You know, and there was definitely there was like, you know, and there's been periods of scarcity and periods of like,
how do you deal with those periods?
I mean, it's part and parcel of being an artist. I think you just kind of have to get used to it being a roller coaster ride, you know, and find your center throughout the ups and downs. But I mean, even until recently, like with all this, you know, laureate stuff, it had been a while. I worked corporate for 5 years when I moved back home. You know, I did deaf poetry. We went on tour. I was in New York. I moved to LA. I did a different tour. I ended up being in LA for 12 years. I worked in nonprofit. I worked teaching young people, running programs at a poetry nonprofit where we used to work with kids in detention. And then I worked at a tech company for 5 years, facilitating, you know, employee talking circles as a way of professional development.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know, and then I came back home and, you know, I got laid off. And then I started working with a different nonprofit here. And I was just like, I don't even know if I'm really supposed to be doing this anymore.
Yeah, how do you keep that going? I mean, it's like a business owner, right?
100%.
Like you have to, and like Busta Rhymes said, it's madness until it works.
I started taking I definitely played it safe for like the 5 years that I was in corporate. And there was some like work with poetry that would come in. I would get asked to do a show here, presentation there. I got commissioned to write things for like different brands on a couple of occasions. That was really good and it paid really well. But it wasn't like I could get back to that feeling, that sense of like, I really just want to write something for me. Like, what's the next thing, you know? And I published a book and everything. And even that, looking back on it, I would have done it so much differently, you know? But I would say it's been within the last year and a half that I kind of started taking a chance on myself again. Mm-hmm. So I applied for a fellowship for Puerto Rican writers and I ended up getting the fellowship. It's a pretty big fellowship. Mm-hmm. So then I ended up, you know, hearing about the opportunity to apply to an artist residency through Elastic Arts. Mm-hmm. So I applied for the residency. I got the residency. So now I have a deadline to work towards of something to present. And
are you a procrastinator?
I am.
Deadlines are procrastinators' worst nightmare, but godsend.
Yeah, godsend.
Because it makes you crank it out.
It does. And so I spent a lot of the summer playing, finding different things to work with, reading, kind of like filling up the tank. And then I really started to crank out that piece in August because I was like, oh shit, I got 2 months.
Yeah, that's how it is.
I got 2 months. And so I was like, I was in it. Focused. But it had been such a long time since I did that. Yeah. Somewhere along that way, like right after I got the residency, the call went out for the laureate. And everybody, I had like 5 or 6 people hit me up and be like, you're applying, right? You're going to apply? You're going to throw your hat in? Are you going to apply? Are you going to apply? And I was like, no, I don't think so, because I don't think you have to submit work, right? So you could submit publications. It cannot be self-published. So it has to be like a journal, a magazine, a newspaper, a book, a press has to print you. And you can also do videos, but it also can't just be a self-published video like, oh, this is my account on YouTube. These are my videos. It has to be like a performance somewhere legitimate, like a different platform that's not your own.
Sure.
And so I thought all the stuff that I had that was more recent was it didn't qualify because of the time frame. So the day before the application is due, somebody from this organization reaches out to me. She goes, "You're going to submit, right?" And I was like, "No, I don't think I have videos that qualify. They're out of the time frame." She goes, "No, you do. Here they are." She's like, "We found these." She's like, "They're all within the time frame." And I was like, "But doesn't it have to, the work has to be created?" She goes, "The work has to be published in this time frame." So I was like, "Oh." So I stayed up till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning working on that application in June. And I submitted it. And then I got the call back. That was May. I got the call back in June that I was going to have an interview in July. So I had the interview in July. And then I had to just sit and wait. And then the announcement got delayed a little while. So I've known for a minute.
Oh, so it's like you were like the cast of like some reality show, and you just like sitting there like.
I was like, is this really going to happen? And then I got the call that it's really going to happen. And I was like, oh my God.
Now you could tell people?
Happening. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Nice. Well, what's your process like? Like, what is your process, your writing process? Like, do you set some knock chomp on and like what kind of music you play? Or just like, if our listeners or viewers were like poets or in general, like how do you get your engine started?
It depends on what medium I'm working in.
Ooh, tell me about that more.
Yeah, so for this project, I was working across like different, very, very different divergent mediums. So I was working with photography and cyanotypes, and then I was working with the writing and the performance.
Sure.
So when I submitted for the residency, I had a general idea of like I could put together a thing, and I was like, it could be multimedia. I could do some videos and this and that or whatever, I'll take photographs of my family and, And what ended up happening is that I started digging into my archives. I started digging into book archives, music archives, stuff that I had written 10, 15 years ago, ideas that I had on little scratch pieces of paper. And I just started like pulling all these threads together. So I went.
Those are important.
They are really important. And then it finally made, I pulled up stuff on my computer that I wrote 15 years ago that I had not touched again. Because I was like, I don't know what this is or what I'm going to use it for, but I know that there's something in this story. There's something in these little phrases that I wrote down.
Like I took this time to write it down because it was like, I knew I was going to use it sometime.
There were photos that I had gone to Puerto Rico in 2009, 2010, and I had scanned archival, like family archival photos of my grandparents, of aunts and uncles, pictures that I had never seen in my family. So since 2010, these photos have just been sitting on a hard drive, right? And I tried to work with them over the years. I would print them out, and then I would just, they'd sit there collecting dust. And then one day I opened up my cabinet and I had cyanotype paper in it's like sunprint paper, right? So it's liquids that are photosensitive, light sensitive, so you can leave them out in the sun and put things on the paper and it'll leave an impression on the paper in like a blue and white gradient, right? So instead of a black and white picture, it's like cobalt blue and to white, right?
Yeah, like a silhouette.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I had some of that paper in my cabinet and I'm cleaning out my art supply cabinet and I was like, huh. And I think I might have had like some old family photos just laying around and I looked at it and I was like, I wonder if I could take this picture and print it as a cyanotype. It just started right there. And I was like, what would I have to do? And I was like, I'd have to print out a negative. Right. So I started looking it up online. I have to print out. How do I turn my photo into a negative? I haven't used Photoshop in over 20 years. I don't know how to do this. So now I'm just going down the rabbit hole and I'm pulling up pictures on my computer and I'm, just using like my basic Apple apps.
Sure.
I'm turning it into a black and white photo. And then I'm like, I was like, okay, well, how do I reverse the image? So reversing the image and what would I have to print this on? Oh, I got to order some transparency paper that I can run through an inkjet printer, right? So then I start buying paper and I print out a negative of a photo of my grandmother and I put it on the sunprint paper and I take it outside and it prints and it works. And I was like, okay,
And the
onto
OG
something
helped you
here.
out too.
Yes. I was like, we're onto something here. So I start searching, and I realize that there's fabric that comes pre-treated. And then I realized that you can buy your own chemicals and mix them and treat your own paper and treat your own fabric. So I start, because as I'm doing this, I get this idea for printing on a bomba skirt, right? So I was like, how do I get there? How do I get there? So I was like, okay. So then I kind of figured it out. So everything up until printing that skirt was like
You're
a
mastering
test run.
it.
Yeah. So I started doing on paper. I played with the negatives. I had to see what kind of saturation of ink I needed on the transparencies, if I needed to double up the transparencies, how many minutes I leave it in the sun. Is it 2 minutes? Is it 3? If it's cloudy, I can't print. If you put hydrogen peroxide in the water, then it develops your photo faster and you can see the colors more fully. Or if you tint it with coffee or this other chemical, oh, look, here's the chemicals. This is, now I have to apply it to this fabric, but how do I do that? Do I dip it? Do I brush it? Do I use a sponge brush? Do I spray it?
Yeah.
Right? Like all of these different things, while there's also these poems emerging, right? So oftentimes I'd be working for like 2-3 days at a time, and I'd be like, I really got to work on the poems right now. And then I want to write, but then I still want to work on this. But I want to write, but I also want to work on this.
How do you find a balance?
I was going a little bit crazy during that time because I was also like on a time crunch. So it was, I kind of started working on like a 1 week on, 1 week off. So like 1 week really focusing on the photos. And that was also determined by the weather because, I needed it to be really sunny outside in order to print. So on the days that it was cloudy or it was going to be raining, then I would write. Or I would like work on the negatives inside. And then on the days that I knew that it was going to be really, really sunny and really warm, then I was like, okay, well, I got to print on this day. I can't write that day. I got to write over the weekend. So, yeah.
And so these are two separate projects or the same
They're
project?
all part of one project.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
I started, so I ended up printing the bomba skirt, printing on fabric. I didn't get to go as big as I would have liked, like as large scale as I want to, but hopefully this summer I can revisit those.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how do you approach the poetry? Like, you were talking about like you have these little notes and
Yep. So
ideas.
So I pulled all of that out. Thankfully, I kind of remember little snippets. I'd be like, where's that thing I wrote that I never did anything with? And I'd be like, do a little word search on it and find it. So I just started printing. I started off with printing out all the fragments that I had, stuff that I started but never finished, and just going through it and just looking at it, sitting with it, just being like, okay.
I'm ready.
Yeah. And then I started making a list of titles of the pieces of the stories I wanted to tell, right? So I was like, okay, there has to be a piece about grandma's, the dream that my grandmother used to have. There has to be a piece to open up the whole body of work, talking about going back and forth in time with, ancestors and how we all have these moments when we feel really connected to things or to people that aren't here anymore. Then there's the story of mom coming to Chicago, right? And like how and why she migrated to Chicago. And then there's like how she meets Boppy. And then there's all the stuff about the old neighborhood and, in Inglewood and the old community and all of those stories. And then now we're like kind of chronologically moving forward. Okay, now there's like my journey of being back home and, taking care of my dad. And, we're talking about ancestry and we're talking about lineage and we're talking about all of these, passing all these things on. So now it's time for me to like sit down and confront my struggle with fertility and not having a family at this age, right? And writing the piece about that as well, that I waited, 2-3 years to be able to sit with that and write about it. And yet the ideas and had been there for about 4 or 5 years already, right? Yeah. As I was going through that challenge. So I was like, okay, there's this thing that I started, there's this thing that I wrote, there's those pieces of paper that I wrote that I just scribbled things on when I was really going through it, during that period of time. And I saved it in a journal. So I pulled all of that out and I realized that there was a journey, like there's a story there's a continuity, there's a thread the photos come in because it's lineage and it's family and it's ancestral, and even the color of the cyanotypes makes sense because it's like water and islands. So the blue and white makes sense, so it just started kind of all
kind of transforming into something.
Yeah. I started writing in decima form. I started thinking about writing songs to go with each poem, right? So that's like another layer that I've added to the work as well.
How do you know that something's finished?
I don't think you always know. I think sometimes you just get that like, okay, there's nothing I can do to make this better, And then there's moments where like you go back and you look at something, you're like, this can have a different life. So just because I did it this way 5-6 years ago doesn't mean I have to keep doing it that way. I can go back to it. I can give it a different form. I can give it a different life,
For me, it's like this feeling that I get that it's like that thought, it's like I can't do anything more to this to make it better.
Yeah.
But I never thought about revisiting old work and like being like, what spin can I make on this old work to make it current or like add to it?
Yep. Yeah, like there was a piece I wrote for the presentation that I did in October. It was a piece about my dad, and then my dad's health took a dip right after. So my father is late stage Alzheimer's, and he had a kind of scary little health dip in November, and so I started really thinking more about my dad and like mortality and all these things, and so I just kind of took that piece and kept building on it. Now it has a song, and then I wrote it in a particular form, and it references things in the poem, and then where can that poem go from there? So I'm really working on like telling a longer story right now.
What was it like to build your career on the South Side, being that like the bomba and the plena that I know comes from Division Street area, and it's like connecting. You talked about how you connected with
Ivelisse.
How you connected with her, right? But how did you like what was it like to build your career on the South Side?
I didn't build my career on the South Side. My career has its roots on the South Side, but I left to school. And so a lot of the success in my career, like some of the big moments, really happened when I was living in New York. And
what was it
LA.
like living in New York?
That was wild. I mean, I always dreamed about living in New York because growing up on the South Side and being Puerto Rican, there were not many of us by the time, I was a teenager, right? So I always dreamed about going to New York and, being like, I want to meet Puerto Rican people from New York, New Yorkers, and the New York Poets Cafe.
New Yorkers.
And all, the New York Poets Cafe was the big thing, So I always like wanted to experience New York in that way.
And what were the biggest pivots that we might have not mentioned that you've had in your life?
Pivots,
like
where I've had to like I think that there was one pivot, I want to say like 2000, let me think, what year was that? So I mean, there's been so many. I pivoted when I went to college. I pivoted when I left school to go to New York. I pivoted when I left New York to go to LA. I pivoted when, I decided to go back to grad school in LA, even though I didn't finish. That's like my next order of business. I pivoted when I started working with nonprofits because, the floating poet from school to school was not really happening anymore. I rode off of that for a long time without thinking long term about what I was going to develop and build. So I ended up working in nonprofit. I pivoted when I moved back home, in my mid 30s because my dad got sick. And I was just done with LA. I pivoted when I started working in tech. I had to pivot when I got laid off. I had to pivot when I'm single again in my mid 40s, and I'm, not married and I don't have kids, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to go back to nurturing my art and my writing, So I don't know, there's just been too many to count.
Yeah, it's just like
it's just part of life. It's just part of the journey. Yeah.
One of them is this, right? Like I love this podcast because I leave being like super inspired. So we were talking about the meetings, right? Well, the reason why alcoholics go to meetings,
yes,
is because we want to be inspired. That's why we go. So we go to hear stories.
Yeah.
And so you sit down at in a circle, wherever, however there's and so my meeting is a speaker meeting.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we get people from outside of the group to come and tell their story, typically. And so they're just like how it was, what it happened, and what it's like now.
Yeah.
And so it's just like you tell your story. It's called your lead. So you tell your lead and you're just like, or another person tells their lead and they'll be like, yo, I was smoking crack under a bridge. And so you walk off being like, man, I'm glad my life never got to that point.
Yeah.
Or somebody will be like, yeah, I remember this happened. And you'll be like, I can totally feel where he's coming from.
I was there too. Mm-hmm.
And so you walk off being like inspired not to drink anymore.
Yeah.
Or not to have that thought. And so this podcast is one of those things that I want to provide for like people who live outside, the black sheep of the family that grew up their whole life not necessarily going with the crowd.
Yeah, going against the
grain and
against
like
the grain,
and being validated for it, and like seeing people who have worked through that, who have gone to like your story where you were like you went to LA, you went to New York, you came back for your family, for your dad, to like working a nonprofit, going corporate, then coming back, and now finally like being like, yo, I took that shot. I like last minute put in my application or like submitted to it and then got it. And the feeling you must have got when you found out. Yeah. That you were just like, holy shit. I imagine you were 100%. Like, holy shit.
No, 100%. I mean, it's not the nature of the position, right? Like it's not a political appointment at all. It's just, like I'm an ambassador of the arts. Mm-hmm. However, when I found out that it was going to be me, I had to fill out this massive questionnaire, right? It's all of the kind of, the background stuff, all of the questions that they would give to anybody who works for the city. Mm-hmm. And so I sat down. They sent to me the same day that they told me it was going to be me. And I was like, okay. And then I sat down and I looked at it and I was like, ooh. And then I promptly woke up the next morning and I drove to Michigan for the day because there's a beach that I love going to out there. So I sat on the beach and I was like, are you ready to do this? Because it's going to come with a different level of responsibility. It's going to come with a different level of eyes on you, given the climate that we're in and where I stand on certain issues. It's not part of the position, but, people are losing their minds out here, like, what if something I write makes it to somebody who takes it to such and such person, or it gets, all this negative attention or whatever, like those things are all possible. I feel very protected. I feel like I'm walking in the world very protected with a lot of people behind me, but I had to sit and think about those things, and just kind of ask myself, like, am I ready for this next level of responsibility? Because it really feels like a responsibility,
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
And then,
I just looked at it as an opportunity to be a service. At the end of the day, I was like, it's not about me. It's not really about my work. Like, what's my legacy going to be? Like, what do I want to offer to the city while I have this opportunity? And like, what do I want to build for other people?
And hearing you say that connects to the Mayda that was working with Southwest Youth Collaborative 100%. That was part of the board.
1,000%. Yeah.
Like 1,000%. That person has maintained truth through this whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you were helping other people. You weren't doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so how has the past Poet Laureate helped you build yourself for like the expectations? Avery
Young, so I'm only the second one, this is only the second one. So there's the program. I would say the position is still in its infancy of what can be possible and, what you might be able to accomplish with it. Avery's been great. I've known Avery for a very, 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 very long time. So, I feel like I definitely have somebody I can go to and talk to and, ask, who's there for support as well, so, that's been great to just have him there as a support.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if somebody like a young child or like just a teenager or like Mayda age when you were at the Southwest Youth Collaborative or even in college, like if somebody wanted to take poetry to the level or art, so I should say art because you're multidisciplinary, right?
Yeah.
But you're being recognized for the poetry.
Side. Yeah.
The triple threat or quadruple threat, right?
I wish. Man.
What advice would you give them?
I would say sometimes the people closest to you are going to try and discourage you from your path. And you have to really learn to tune things out in order to stay your course.
Mm-hmm.
And just understand, and do it with love, and just understand that that sometimes people are coming from a place of fear, out of their love and concern for you, but it's a place of fear nonetheless, because, well, how are you going to do that? And how are you going to support yourself? And you need health insurance and you need a steady paycheck and all those different things. So you'll have to filter out a lot of voices to stay your course. Make sure that you surround yourself with people that you trust and who are not just going to gas you up all the time, but people that you can lean on and trust for honest feedback, not just on your work, but on your character, because the brilliance of your work is nothing without character and the way that you treat people and the way that you walk in the world. And people remember that more than your work, more than anything else. Yeah.
And then how can people reach out to you?
Oh man, I'm on all the socials. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. My website is maydadelvalle.com. There's also a website for the Chicago Poet Laureate program that people can find online as well. So you can follow me, Mayda Del Valle on IG, Mayda Del Valle on Facebook, and maydadelvalle.com.
Yeah, and is there anything else that you would want to share? I know that you were talking about your dad.
Yeah.
Like anything that you would want to share with him, especially going through some hard times, or it doesn't need to be that. Like anything that you would want to share to the world.
Oh gosh, anybody who's out there caretaking for a loved one, like much power to you. I would say that's it. Like caretaking is an unseen labor of love in this country. That's a whole nother episode for another day, though.
Yeah. Yes. Respect to those people. So thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
The 500 and Growing podcast. I really appreciate your story. Man, if you're a poet or you're an artist or you're multidisciplinary and do. I think one of the things that I related to that is a definite do for a procrastinator, like you described yourself and like I would describe myself, is deadlines.
100%.
Like put yourself on the chopping block for something. Like I was making a design for a mural.
Yeah. And
I was like putting it off, had the drafting table and everything. I'm like, And then I finally texted the person and I was like, yo, can you meet on Monday? And it's Thursday. And he was like, yeah. I was like, now I got to get it done.
Now you got to finish it.
Now it has to get done.
Like, damn, I wish he said no.
Well, thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Well, definitely check out Mayda and all her social media handles, her website, maydadelvalle.com.
Yes, MAYDADELVALLE.
And we are the 500 and Growing podcast. We're at 500andgrowing.com. You can reach out to us if you have any ideas of like great questions that we can ask guests. We would definitely love to know and share those questions. You could email us at contact@500andgrowing.com. And thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Descendancy I wrote my senior year of college. I think at the time I was getting to a point where I was learning to define myself by more than just my race. And I was learning to define myself as an artist, as a woman, as a first generation Puerto Rican who came from Chicago, not New York.
It's nice that you can claim your clan to purebred pedigree descendancy, but middle passages mark the makeup of my amalgamated Afro-Boricua ancestry. I know it's kind of hard to see the motherland legitimacy in me, but I can't deny the fact that Yoruba songs lay in the lines of my mother's palms as she puts her hands up, offering up psalms, seeking the calm offered by God's son, because when the day is done, the color of my skin still marks me as an alien in the country of my birth.
The poem has to do with recognizing the African roots in my culture, which a lot of not only Puerto Ricans, but a lot of just Latinos in general don't do. And we deny that part of ourselves, and we push it away, and we talk about our European and Indian ancestors, but somehow the African part of our culture is just not really that important.
I can't check myself into a box. I be ignoring mommy straight and papi's nappy locks in me, the Chi-Town, Midwest, Windy City in me, the bebop, hip-hop, non-stop, salsa con sabor, queen of soul in me, the growing up next door to Mexicanos with orale cabrones, tacos and tamales in me, the descendancy that doesn't deny the darker shades of skin in me, the what in me, yes, the that in me, what you claim you can't see, so descendancy me for what I be, cause I be a Rican, a Chi-Town, not a New York Rican, a Chi-Town, South Side Rican, simply seeking to see if I can fit in. I dare you to sit still in your chair and intellectualize what I can only make sense of by feeling. I see you're being blind, not seeing past the kinds of fabricated fictional fables, assaulted ancestral accounts. I should be calling your historical scribes ASAP, the way they stop the truth from being illuminated, using tactics trying to force my assimilation, causing me to question my creation. You must have mistaken me for Hansel and Gretel, thinking I'd jump into the melted pot, always trying to place me in constant categorizations of population. You're calling this shit civilization? My so-called pre-Columbian savage, unenlightened ancestors had more humanity than your Microsoft, Macintosh, technology, monopoly, information, highway riding bareback on the backs of underpaid third world women and children, 85 cents a day for making $100 Nikes, nuclear bomb dropping, immigrants stopping death by lethal electrocution, injecting lies of let me get my piece of the American apple pie dream into our children's mind society. Let me order your new worlds and paint the White House brown, cause I'm going down. Yes, I'm going down to the earth, searching my roots like Haley's, and I'm writing comments back to the past, and because my future, that is my present, that is my now, I'm going back seeking my descendancy.
500 and growing.
Podcast. Dedicated to the underdog, cause I see you. Working on your craft, getting strong, cause I see you. Ready to set it off and on, cause I see you. Correcting all that is wrong, cause I see you. Dedicated to your craft, read and study the math. Making goals and taking a stand. Original, so you trailblaze a path. In tune with your inner master plan.
Visit 500andgrowing.com for more creative content.
Thank you very much for listening to the 500 and Growing podcast. Remember that we have incredible guests that have already featured in episodes in the past. So please go back into the archives and listen to their inspirational stories. And then remember that we have incredible guests lined up for the future. So please follow on Instagram at 500 and Growing Podcast. Remember to follow on Spotify or Apple Podcast or any of the major podcast platforms. You can also check out 500andgrowing.com for more creative content.
500 and growing.
Podcast.